Today's lesson is lesson 73, adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, which not quite the end of the lesson. Adding and subtracting decimals. Adding and subtracting decimals, lesson 73. Now today's lesson could be extremely short and simple, and I could give it to you in just this one slide and we would be done for the day, but we have to have a little bit of practice. So let's write down the first thing, and that is the rule. There is one rule. And if you can remember this one rule, you will find this is a piece of cake. The rule is simply stated, line them up. Line them, that means them, but it's a lot more fun to say line them up. Now, that means when you add or subtract decimals, your decimals must always line up. Let's take a look at a quick example. If we have 4 and 2/10 plus 3 and 1/10. Now the key is here, my decimals have to be in a straight line, lined up. So the rule for adding and subtracting fractions is line them up. And then you work and do your addition or subtraction from there. So I would say 2 plus 1 is 3, 4 plus 3 is 7. So my answer is 7 and 3/10. So I have to line them up. That's the rule. Technically, we could be done right there if you remember the rule for adding and subtracting decimals is line them up. Let's do just a couple quick practice to make sure you can do them correctly and write them down correctly. I'm going to draw a triangle, and I'm going to tell you the length of the sides, 12.5 centimeters, and 7.6, which is 7 6/10 centimeters, and 4 and 3/10 centimeters. What would be the perimeter, which is, remember, the outside measurement of my triangle? Go ahead and write down the problem, and then I'll write it down and check before you add to make sure that yours looks just like mine. Hopefully you are almost done writing them, and it should look like this. There is my first decimal, one decimal place, so my decimal's there. Then I'm going to add the 7 and 6/10, and then when I do this, I'm going to add 12 and 5/10. Centimeter, 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 and I can go ahead and go right down here and go centimeter, because I'm adding them. And notice my decimals make a straight line down. You don't have to draw that straight line in, but it is important for you to remember when you add or subtract, line them up. And now at this point, go ahead and add. You add just like a regular addition problem. So, 14, carry the 1. Now I didn't do very good lining my 2 up right underneath there, so let me erase that just so that it looks more correct in the writing of it. That's better. Now, notice that I have my decimal lined up. I went ahead and added like normal, carried like normal. Everything else is normal addition or subtraction. You just line those decimals up, bring them down, and don't forget to put them in their place. All right, one last practice problem. If Goliath was, oops, sorry about that, 9.7 feet tall, and I am shorter at 5.3 feet tall. How much taller is Goliath than I am? Now, go ahead and write it. It's going to be a subtraction problem because you're trying to figure out the height difference. So, when you write it, you should have written it out, making sure your decimals lined up. And it should have been 9 7/10 of a foot minus 5 3/10 of a foot. And I have feet as my answer. That's so I don't forget my label. Those of you who have a hard time with labels, it's always a good thing to do. The rule is line them up. So I check, yep, my decimals are lined up, and that means I know I'm going to put my decimal right there. Then I do it like a regular subtraction problem. 7 minus 3 is 4. 9 minus 5 is 4. So the difference between Goliath's height and my height is 5 4/10 of a foot. Again, remember the rule is line them up. And then you add or subtract like normal. And that is all that we have for today. We'll do a little more practice during class tomorrow, but I hope you have a wonderful evening.